Hi there, greetings and salutations. Happy 3-1 Pacer advantage over the Cleveland Cavaliers. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. It is Pacers. It is Racers.
Yay.
It is second half of May. What better time? And Derek, just last night, a great time to be an Indiana sports fan.
Thank God we can finally do a show where we can recap the previous game. That's
right.
Nice. So to let you guys behind the curtain, obviously the Pacers schedule has not been super conducive to our show schedule with so many Tuesday night games. So we've had like a 4 p.m. start. I think we streamed once at 5 p.m. We've done all of that because we're all busy. Jake has this is really, out of the 12 months of the year, really the only busy month for him is half of May.
That's true.
The ISC crew is basically a 24/7, 365 operation. Now, there is no off-season for them. Yes, they don't have the high school and college events right now, but they've got all these other tournaments and summer events and all kinds of stuff. And then I'm just busy like crazy because not only with my day job with Purdue and all of that, but my son's Little League schedule. And then I have my personal brand appearances and emceeing events. And Derek, we want you to do this. Derek, we want you to do that. Like I'm being pulled in all these different directions. So it's great to be able to do the show here, move it on a Monday, and have everyone's schedules work so we can recap what was I've been watching the Pacers a long time, Jake. You've been watching them even longer than me. I've been watching the Pacers pretty much exclusively for 20 years and extensively for the last 30 because of the Knicks rivalry. I felt like I knew the Pacers. That was the second NBA team I knew the most. I've never seen it. I've never seen them play like that. I've never seen them play a half of basketball like that.
And by the way, when you talk about the flexibility of schedules, thank you so much to those that make it possible for us before we get into that. Bailey & Wood is obviously the presenting sponsor of this program. And 12 months a year, not just 1 month a year in my case or 3 weeks a year for Derek. 12 months a year, Bailey & Wood is working hard to getting you the best that you can get in terms of your interest rates and getting you mortgages in a snap for Bailey & Wood. Then, as I mentioned, a house that maybe needs some renovation to it or you just have new ideas for your basement, whatever it might be. Chateau Kitchens, your kitchen obviously. The no other place to go than the Chateau Kitchen to have them come out, do fabulous work in your home, great people, philanthropic people as well, which we love. Then once you get that kitchen redone, you sit down, and what better thing to do than to have a nice Hoagies and Hops sandwich?
Yum.
Fabulous, right? Followed by some chili water beer. And then, of course, you want to get your vitamins and nutrients, so the American Dairy Association is going to have milk there for you as well. So a number of sponsors that make it possible for us to be here, and we thank all of them and ask that you support them as well. Derek, in terms of the game, you knew in Game 3 that I really did have a feeling in Game 3 that Cleveland was going to have this answer
me too.
And punch you in the mouth,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened, and then it just gets away from you, and you're like, okay, there's just no turning back. You just have games like that every once in a while where just everything goes your way. Or you've been, look, I've watched teams also where you're on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Nothing goes your way. It was what Indiana did, and I think this is what facilitated for that quick start and all that, but it's very simple. Cleveland had gone to this 2-3 zone that completely befuddled Indiana in game number 3. And they had Evan Mobley, who's a mile long and a mile high, standing in the middle of it.
And the league's best defender.
They just couldn't get anything going. The Pacers clearly looked at that and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have to start getting shots before they even set up in their zone. And when they did that, they did two things. They either did quick shots from the outside or they did a quick bounce around, but dropping it into the mid lane and then down onto the block and then back out or whatever until there was an opening. And that kept Cleveland at bay and kind of on a turnstile to the point where they were getting high percentage shots. And when you get 3 or 4 of those in a row, then the avalanche comes. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and they're consistently creating really good shots, but something else is that they're making shots at a ridiculous clip. I mean, Game 1 and Game 4 were 2 games where, at the end of the day, you can get a wide open shot or you can get a great look. You still have to make it. And they made all of them, Game 1 and Game 4. And then Miles Turner at the closing stretch of the second quarter, I mean, he could have been shooting from Noblesville and those were still going in. It was just, that was a guy that was kind of completely locked in. But I'm just surprised at the ease of the Pacers offensively, really this entire playoffs. But it's one thing to do it against Milwaukee. Milwaukee's okay defensively. they're like a slightly above league average defense. Cleveland's an elite level defense. And I understand game 2 they had the injuries and things like that, right? But game 1 they had everybody, and last night they did as well, and the Pacers just eviscerated them.
Yeah.
Eviscerated them with what they were able to do offensively. But I think last night also was the classic example in this entire series of why, somebody was tweeting me Saturday night and was like, hey, why should I believe that the Pacers are going to win even one more game in this series? And I said, well, if you want glass half full, every playoff game is its own entity. There is no carryover. We get obsessed where we're just in the moment and we're like, oh my God, Pacers got killed last night. What are they going to do? How are they going to solve all these problems? These guys flush that stuff immediately.
Right.
The Cavs lose like they did, like one of the most crushing losses in Cavs history. Game 2, you're up 7 with 50 seconds left and you lose. What are they going to do? Oh my God. They came right out and they just punched the Pacers right in the mouth in game 3, right? There's no momentum. There's no carryover. Every game is its own entity. And that's why I want to warn people about calling this series. Look, I understand the history. Teams up 3-1 win 95% of the time. 95% you're feeling pretty good, right? But the Cavs still have 2 games at home if it goes the whole way, right? They got to come to Indiana and eventually win another one, obviously. But the reason why I'm hesitant in all of that is that the Cavs could just as easily turn around tomorrow night and run the Pacers off the floor.
Yes, that's correct.
Remember that happened last year against Milwaukee. Pacers won game 4. They're up 3-1. They're feeling good. Milwaukee didn't have Dame. I don't think they had Giannis, if I remember right, in game 5 in Milwaukee. And it was like Pat Bev and Middleton, and they ran the Pacers off the floor in game 5. And you're like, what the hell is this? How did this even happen? So I don't think, while the Pacers are clearly in an advantageous position and, gun to my head, I think they're going to win the series here because, 95% of the time the team up 3-1. I just want to be very, very careful here because the Cavs won 64 games. That's a very good team, and I'd be surprised if they went out meekly tomorrow night. I really would.
Agreed with that. Now, one of the storylines that could come into play tomorrow night, and maybe we'll know this by the time this is being aired this afternoon or this evening, they may be without Donovan Mitchell
that's a big caveat.
and Darius Garland.
Yeah. If they don't have Mitchell, it's over.
Well, and Garland.
Yeah.
Because Garland left the bench. So they were reviewing. I don't know whether this, and if it was, my apologies. Maybe they made a big deal out of this. I was at the game, so I wasn't able to watch it on the broadcast. But I know definitively on the scores table that at one point the officials came over to say they wanted the league to review who left the bench for Cleveland and whether or not Garland did. Now, if he did, he would be suspended the game.
Yeah.
Mitchell came out for the second half warm-ups and went over on the wing and bent down like at his ankle, and then Garland walked over to him, and he looked at one of the trainers and said, I can't go, and then limped off, and that was that. And then I don't know when the injury happened, but afterwards, of course, they said, hey, look, he's going to have an MRI today, that being Monday, and go from there.
Yeah, and for folks at home, we've talked about this before. Jake is not a lip reader. He sits courtside, so he can actually hear these conversations of what's happening because he has a front row seat, in case he hasn't told you that before.
I've never actually mentioned that.
If Mitchell...
Have I?
If Mitchell can't go, then obviously the series is over. And
you,
Garland, too, is a big one.
Can you do me a favor? Say the name of the city the Bucks play in.
Milwaukee.
Again?
Milwaukee.
I noticed this, and you have problems naming this kind of a beverage.
Yeah.
From the American Dairy Association. What's this? Winner's drink what?
Milk.
You have a mental hurdle with the M-I-L sound.
No, I don't think so.
It's okay. It's okay. I have it with the word museum. Apparently I say museum.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
To me, and I still can't hear. If I spell it out and say museum, that sounds me
weird,
the same as.
Yeah.
But when I say museum,
Milk, Milwaukee, Needle,
Milwaukee. You're dropping the
Needle.
L. You drop the L. You just say Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
But there's an L there. It's Milwaukee.
It's like a soft L. Milwaukee.
Now I noticed, like on the way up here, I asked about.
It's like how you don't say Atlanta.
I noticed
Atlanta.
this.
Right? It's like a soft. Am I right? Vince is looking at me like he agrees.
Derek, let me ask you
which
this.
rarely happens on this show.
I think you might have sent me a naughty text this morning.
What?
Do you do voice to text?
No.
You don't do voice to text?
No.
Okay. Because I think you do.
Oh, I was saying we needed milk for the show.
And you did voice to text. Now see if you can zoom. I don't know. They probably can't zoom in.
They probably
to see
can't.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
That says, yeah, we need nook.
Yeah.
I think it probably autocorrected because
you're writing the word nook a lot.
No.
What,
So Ash and I in our house, we have
again.
No. This is not like a weird thing. This is not like a weird thing.
Okay.
We have a kitchen nook that we call it, where we keep our keys and like our checkbook and our sunglasses and our glasses, and it's got our calendar. And so I think it probably autocorrected to nook, because every time I text my wife with like, hey, where are my glasses? Have you seen my glasses? Have you seen the keys? Where's this? Whatever. She always goes, did you check the nook? And that's probably why my phone is like, oh, I fat fingered milk and it became nook. So we weren't thinking about the Limp Bizkit song. Okay. That's what we were doing with that.
Okay.
Can we talk about, by the way, you mentioned Garland leaving the bench. What did you think of the Ben Mathurin punch?
I think Mathurin, I got to be careful how I say this because it can come off the wrong way. To me, I'm not saying that Ben Mathurin doesn't get along with his teammates. I'm not saying none of that's true. I mean, I think he's a fine guy. I think when you look at this team and you look at what Miles Turner did, and you realize that Miles Turner's in a contract year and the Pacers are going to have to come up with creative ways to free up money, not just this year, but moving forward, somebody on that roster is going to have to be dealt for future assets. And the guy that is the one that just seems to march to his own drummer that they can most afford to lose is Ben Mathurin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's a very gifted scorer. I am still tantalized by his – I still think there's some upside there that he hasn't tapped into and that the Pacers haven't tapped into. But I'm just kind of tired of him being the main character in a bad way. You remember, like, the main character on Twitter, like, don't be the main character?
Right.
I just feel like Ben Mathurin's just kind of like he's just kind of a headache. He's almost like a better version of Lance Stevenson.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
this group doesn't need that. I mean,
I like teams, Lance, and I like Ben.
There are teams that need X factors. I mean, I've said it, a Bobby Portis type.
Yeah.
Aaron Nesmith, from a basketball standpoint, is growing into that kind of player, and Walker can be that kind of a player as well. Not an instigator, but a guy that, because of the way they play, gets in the head of other people. So I don't know that they need an overt instigator.
I think this would be an easier conversation to have if Jarris Walker was farther along as a player. You know what I mean? But yeah, it stinks that, you know, Pacers are up 800-10 at halftime, and they're leading the halftime show with what Ben Mathurin did. And you're just like,
yeah.
You know, like that's my whole reaction to Ben Mathurin when stuff happens. It's like, okay, there's Mathurin again. It just was completely unnecessary. I didn't think it was a close fist. I didn't see anything that showed a close fist. The ref seemed to be adamant that it was a close fist. To me, that was just tech them and play on. I think people are underselling the Hunter push. If you stomp at somebody full charge and shove them to the ground, you could start a whole melee. Like, just because that didn't start
right.
it. And look, Mathurin flopped, right? It sold it, right? He didn't flop because a full-grown man shoved him.
Mathurin stood like this waiting for it.
Yeah, sure.
So at that point, here's the thing. When Mathurin stands like this waiting for it, then that means that Mathurin knows he has done something to instigate it, right?
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is, and let me tell you what I heard. I didn't see this, but there were several people around that said beyond even that, on the other end of the floor, that running down the court, Mathurin hit Hunter in the nethers.
Oh, okay. So it was a couple of things. Yeah, I mean, Hunter seemed upset beyond just, yeah. And, you know, I think there was like a I'm going to see you soon type thing exchange between both of them. And Mathurin was just kind of cheesing at him like he kind of knew, I think, what he was doing there. And I'm trying not to like be like, oh, Pacers homer guy, because I'm not. But I didn't think that what happened there warranted an ejection.
I don't disagree with that. I never really saw what the whether it was a punch or a push or whatever it was. I never saw that. But I guess you could argue that Mathurin is kind of the one that started the whole thing, and there was the chance of that getting out of hand. Fortunately, it did not.
Yeah. Whatever. It ended up being a footnote for the game, right?
Yeah.
Because 80-39, that's the funny thing about NBA games. If you're up 17 at halftime, game's still going. If you're up 22 at halftime, game's still going. Hell, if you're up 25 and in the first, you're thinking to yourself, okay, the other team is thinking to themselves, if we can get it down to 15 by the 4-minute mark of the third quarter or down to 12 before the start of the fourth, 25-point halftime, the game's not over. 41, the game was over.
Yeah.
Game ended. I mean, 80-39 might as well have been the final score. The Cavs out-rebounded the Pacers last night? Watching that game, would you have ever thought that the Cavs out-rebounded the Pacers? They did, by 4.
I know
but think about all the garbage time.
I know at one point it was 25-3 in assists.
And the other thing with the Pacers is that you can't rebound made shots. Pacers are making all of their shots. There's no rebound. There's no rebound to be had when Miles Turner is just making a barrage of three-pointers. So I think there were some statistics in this. Like, it's hilarious to me that ended up being a 20-point game because that was way more of a blowout than some 30-point games that I've seen in my life.
Right.
I mean, the Cavs were lucky they got to the foul line so much to make that look better than it was.
A couple of times I looked up and I'm like, oh, no, they just cut it to 32.
Yeah.
I
mean, the game was effectively over at that point. One other conversation that I want to have. Another pedestrian game from Tyrese Halliburton. He had a pretty good first quarter, but 11 points, 5 assists, 1 of 5 from 3. He's averaging 14 and 7. Postseason numbers: 16 points, 29% 3-point shoot.
Okay.
If we're going to graduate the thought from, oh God, I just hope the Pacers win a first-round series. Oh man, I hope I make it to the conference. If we're gonna have a serious conversation about, I hope the Pacers win the NBA championship, he's got to be better than this.
Correct.
He's got to be.
Derek, the James Boyd shared this the other day when he was on with me, and it's a really good theory. And that is to win a 7-game series, okay, you got to win like 2 games carried by your best player, 1 game carried by your second best player, and 1 game carried by your support staff, okay?
Yeah, I would generally agree with that. That's usually the formula, it feels like.
The Siakam probably – I don't know that you would say – last night might have been the support staff game because Toppin was brilliant.
Yeah.
Miles Turner played really well.
Nesmith was great again.
Nesmith was good again. But
Siakam, to be fair, Siakam shot 90%. He was going to have a big game, but after halftime, it was like, I'm in cruise control, man. It's over.
For every game, though, the Pacers, this is what's frustrating is the wrong word, but what I would love to see come together. They typically have games either where it's Halliburton leading them or Siakam leading them. To win a championship, they're going to have games where Halliburton and Siakam lead them.
Are both great.
Yes.
Yeah. Which also, I'm trying to think in my head, has not a game two against Milwaukee. I think they were both really good. Do I have that one right? I'll have to go back and look, but it's been rare where they've both been good because Siakam's had a little bit of a dry spell himself.
Now,
but he hasn't had the lows that Halliburton was awful in Game 3. He was an F. He was a complete. Not only was he a non-factor, he was a net negative for them. That was his one of his worst games that we've seen him play.
Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is the Pacers were winners, right?
Yeah.
They still have 1 left. It's 3 games to 1. It's going to be the hardest punch to land is the knockout punch, and it's going to be tough. And it's going to be really tough in Cleveland for Game 5. That crowd's going to be jacked up. Then Indiana comes back here, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like on, I believe it would be Thursday night, right? Maybe advantage Indiana that there's only 1 game between the 2 games. They play again on Tuesday because of Cleveland's health or lack thereof. But, Derek, we haven't even discussed it. We haven't even gone there yet. But we will be 1 week from tomorrow emceeing the fastest rookie luncheon for the American Dairy Association of Indiana. The American Dairy Association of Indiana, which the dairy farmers, you think about people that are getting up every morning. They're doing the same routine, whether it's cold outside, warm outside, whatever the weather may be. They're always out there working. And the Dairy Association is bringing you not only the best tradition in sports, the bottle for the winner of the Indianapolis 500-mile race, but they're providing for you the kind of nutrients, the kind of refreshment that you enjoy with every meal and after every workout you should. Chocolate milk, for example, as much protein, as, Derek?
Hard-boiled egg.
Correct. As much potassium as?
Banana.
As much vitamin A as?
Cup of spinach.
Correct. And, of course, you get vitamin D, calcium, you name it. The perfect refreshment drink after a workout is chocolate milk. Of course, whole milk, vitamin D milk, 1% milk, 2% milk, skim milk, all the same, right? All the same. We do each and every week during the month of May our winners drink milk and our toast to the winner. I say, Derek, we haven't even had a meeting. I don't know if you had one. To me, it's the Indiana Pacers. To bounce back after that game, that disappointment on Friday, the wind was out of the sails. Sunday's Mother's Day. It's beautiful. You had the Grand Prix on Saturday, so there's a lot going on. And it almost got lost in the shuffle that there was still another game to play on Sunday night. That environment was awesome. That arena was loud. And that team responded to it. And I say hallelujah to the Indiana Pacers and winners drink.
Yeah, so what I'll say is I actually had a Pacer for my hero and somebody else for my winner, but I'll flip them. How about that?
Okay.
Because, winner and hero a lot of times can be the same thing. My winner of the week is Rick Carlisle.
Fair.
I don't think that we are appreciating enough what he's done with this team, with this franchise. I understand that they made the Halliburton deal and the arrow was pointing up. Not when he took this job, but halfway through year one, when the Pacers decided to do kind of a soft reset, the arrow started pointing up. But they got absolutely smacked in Game 3. And Carlisle, the best thing you can say about Carlisle is that he is so detail-oriented, right? They were so ready, and it sounds almost like belittling to say, well, of course, they're professionals playing, 10-year-olds you can teach how to attack a zone, right? But they knew exactly where to go, where to be, where to exploit it, the whole deal. That goes to Carlisle to have them back up after that crushing loss. He has the most playoff wins now of all time. He passed Larry Bird, which is kind of a cool thing
Pacers,
to say.
yes.
Yeah, for the Pacers. Has them on the brink of making the East Finals for the second straight year. They haven't done that since Frank Vogel did it 13-14. They've only done it once this century. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach, and we're not there yet. But if the Pacers get to the next round and we start discussing, hey, can this team win an NBA title? Can you imagine if Rick Carlisle's 2 rings are with the Dallas Mavericks and Indiana Pacers?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, yeah.
I mean, that's a little more that's equal to, what, 5 of Phil Jackson's rings probably?
Right.
6
Right.
rings? Right. No offense to Phil Jackson, but come on, man. Like those franchises. Look at the Mavericks franchise.
I won my rings with the Mavericks and the Pacers. What about you? I won my rings with Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan. Okay, cool.
Come on. Yeah, not all are created equal when it comes to that. And that's not to knock off Phil Jackson, who's unbelievable, but it shows, then we're talking about Rick Carlisle among the greatest to ever do it.
By the way,
if he's not already there.
You know what I just thought of? And I unless I'm forgetting, I'm certain he's still with us. When's the last time you saw Phil Jackson?
Well, he came back a failed stint to kind of try to stabilize the Knicks, remember?
Yeah, but that was like 5 years ago, right?
That might have been longer ago than that. That's the last time that I remember him doing anything publicly. Is he still with is it Jeannie Buss that he's married to?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, let me just see.
I don't think they were married, were they?
Or were they were like you and Shannon, I think. Like there was an understanding. Is that how you guys say it? There was an understanding? Let's see. As a head coach, I don't want as a head coach, I want as an executive. What is he doing now? What is Phil Jackson up to now?
Let's go to the Wikipedia page where it says
2017 was his last year as a Knicks executive.
Personal
Personal life, 5 children, 8 grandchildren. He dated Jeannie Buss.
Yeah, okay.
The two became engaged. And then they were together for a long time, 20-something years. But then they broke off their engagement, so they were never actually married. So maybe he's single?
I would bet you right now he's doing some sort of Zen, like Buddha stretching yoga stuff like in North Dakota somewhere.
Here, how about this? Because he's this tier of just the money he made and the status that he has. What is Phil Jackson doing right now? Hey, what's he up to right now? Whatever Phil Jackson wants.
Correct.
That's the status that we all want to reach someday, right? I want to reach whatever we want. Oh, he lives in Montana. So maybe he's living out the Jake Query dream.
Well, he's from that area anyway, isn't he?
I think he's from Idaho or Montana. He's from one of those states.
I thought he was from one of the Dakotas, but...
Well, wait, I got his Wikipedia up right now. He's born in Deer Lodge, Montana. Okay. He went to North Dakota.
Okay.
And he went to high school in North Dakota. I did not know that. He's got to be... Who else from North Dakota would be the claim to fame, athlete-wise or coach-wise?
You know, James Johnson that got in last night and hit a pull-up jumper for the Pacers from Wyoming.
Yeah,
we established
that,
right?
That.
North Dakota. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Roger Maris.
Yeah. They have a museum for him out there, don't they?
Well, it's a... Yeah, I mean, I made the mistake of going to the museum. It's actually a trophy case in the middle of a mall.
Carson Wentz.
Okay.
Let's see. Travis Hafner.
How about the fact
Pronk.
Really?
Pronk. Do you remember Travis?
Oh.
Travis Hafner had a nickname that was...
I thought you said Gronk.
He's like a workhorse. He's a donkey, but the scouts called him a project. So they combined that nickname, I think I'm saying this right, into Pronk. And I've always loved that nickname. I have a lot of Cleveland people in my life. That's probably the only reason that I know that. Doug McDermott from North Carolina. North Dakota.
Okay.
Dalton Connect from North Dakota.
Really?
God, this is not a great list. Yeah, that's about it. Brooks Bollinger, the backup quarter. Darren Erstad, baseball player. Yeah, there you go.
North Dakota, underrated sports state. The fact I knew Roger Maris is from there gave me some...
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we'll see if the Pacers can close this thing out. Last team to come back from down 3-1 is the 2020 Nuggets. They did it twice. Big asterisk there, though. That was in the bubble. Different situation than
it
going.
kind of is.
You know what
right?
I mean?
Yeah.
There wasn't really home court in the bubble. But again, I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm very optimistic about the Pacers, but I'm expecting the Cavs to win Game 5. And once you win Game 5, it's basically the series. Pacers, you'd still give like a 60.
I mean, it comes down to this.
65,
comes
35.
Down to this. The
right?
Pacers got to win a home game.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I think. Game 5 is a house money game, but then suddenly it becomes a different series if Cleveland wins Game 5.
Right.
Because you want to avoid a road Game 7 at all costs. If the Pacers have a 75-80% chance to win the series right now, they have a 20-25% chance if it gets to a Game 7 in Cleveland.
Right.
But the Mitchell injury changes the arithmetic on that for sure. We come back on the show, our Hoagie and Hero of the Week, and hell, it's the month of May. Cars were on the track. They're going to continue to be on the track for the foreseeable future. We're going to talk about all of that, including Alex Palou's continued dominance just everywhere that he goes.
Are you excited to MC the event?
The dairy luncheon? Yeah, absolutely. This is like year 6 for that.
I get nervous for that.
You always say that. You're just sandbagging.
The fastest rookie luncheon, and when we come back, between Derek and I, we're going to see if we can name every fastest rookie that we've honored.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
It's Corey Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Tonight.
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do. From Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgages and a snap! Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Query. I'm Darren Schultz. Thanks to Bailey & Wood Financial Group, the presenting sponsor of the show, BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME for our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Mike Wood and his team do a phenomenal job, whether you're looking to refi, get that pre-approval for your home mortgage. Right now is the buying season, right? It's still the spring, kind of trending into the summer, looking for a new home. Get that pre-approval so you can get onto the market and jump on a great opportunity to put an offer on a house with our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group, 19 Indiana branch locations. Jake had asked me going into the break the fastest rookies for the fastest rookie luncheon for the American Dairy Association Indiana, and I think we got 4, but we're apparently missing one, right?
Okay, hold on. So this is obviously done every year by the American Dairy Association. It's wonderful. And it has a milk toast at the end, and the fastest rookie is honored. They've been doing this forever. And Derek and I have been honored enough to be their MCs. And I think I screwed it up last year because I had a weird script. And I'm hoping
You did. I don't think we're going to have that problem.
Huh?
I don't think we're going to have that problem.
It was not my fault, though, right?
No, that actually wasn't your fault. I'll give you a little bit of a break there.
Thank you. Okay, so.
Yes, I know who it is. I know who we're
hold
missing.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So we have.
You'll never guess it.
We have done Pietro Fittipaldi.
Yeah.
We have done Romain Grosjean.
Yep.
We have done Renus VK.
Renus VK was the first one we did.
Kyle Larson.
Yes.
Who was great.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to think. Was it last year?
It was 2 years ago.
Are we missing last year's?
No, last year was Larson.
I thought Larson was 2 years ago.
No. Last year was Larson.
Okay.
You're missing 2 years ago. Grosjean was 22. VK was 20. Who's the other one?
Grosjean, Pietro Fittipaldi.
Pietro Fittipaldi was 21.
Okay, hold on. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is this driver still in the field?
I don't believe so. Let me actually see to make absolutely sure, okay?
I remember it was a surprise.
I'm trying to make sure he doesn't have like a one-off type deal. I don't think that he does. In fact, I don't think he raced in last year's race.
Was it a surprise?
Not necessarily a surprise. I'll say this. I don't believe it was a great rookie class this year, this specific year. I think it was a lot of guys that were kind of
home country.
Home country, Denmark? You got it now?
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking.
You got to think of it, right? It's hard.
Hold on.
It's a hard one.
Benjamin Peterson.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Ben Peterson. I would not, if I had not looked it up, you could have given me 100 guesses and I would not have remembered.
Yeah.
And that was 2 years ago. Yeah. But it was him and like I think Callum Ilott and who's the kid from Chicago that really liked the Bears?
Malukas.
Yes, Malukas. Remember? And they were all great guys, right? But
Yeah,
they were all starting like 15th to whatever.
My favorite for the rookie luncheon was the one year that we had all the rookie class behind us. It would have been a couple years ago. And I don't know which of the two of us asked, like, so, are there nerves like going into it, and everybody's kind of answering. And Christian Lundgaard was the last one, and he goes, well, I mean, I'm starting last, so there's really not a lot of pressure here.
Yeah, that was funny. Because you don't expect, like, sometimes the foreign guys to be funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're very buttoned up.
He's like, yeah, I'm starting last.
I mean, IndyCar guys are buttoned up for the most part anyway. But it is fun to kind of, it's a very, for all the sponsor requirements that they have, this is much more of like a laid-back sort of atmosphere. And dairy farmers are cool, so the dairy farmers just there chilling, hanging out,
now
eating cheese.
Should we? I know that this is the confluence of the two different lives that we have, but should we also make mention of what's going to happen on Carb Day?
Yeah, I guess we should. So, like Matthew and Maine and the half dozen people watching know, we are bringing back Corey and Schultz for Carb Day. We have never done a Carb Day live show together.
Correct.
At the track, because we were never allowed to, because our old affiliate, we couldn't be on the air when Emmis was on the air.
Correct.
So that'll be fun.
So
In fact, it'll be me for the first little bit.
Hope the weather's good.
Yeah, so I'll crush a couple of high noons, and then you can take over from the show there. And we'll do it to it.
Is that your thing now? I thought, what happened to the Zima?
You made fun of Zima, and you know what? Like, White Claws opened the floodgates, and now it's perfectly fine for a full-grown dude to just crush a couple of high noons. Not frowned upon whatsoever.
Is high noon different than White Claw?
I think White Claw's a hard seltzer, and high noons is vodka soda.
Have you had Surfside?
Yeah, it's good.
Vodka lemonade,
Yeah,
vodka
it's
iced
good.
tea.
Yeah. Crush a couple Surfsides. You hawk for them, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was
That's
like,
good.
I
No
heard
carbonation, so it's very smooth.
I heard it like subliminally, I think, listening on the show because I went into like Costco or something like that. I got like a case of it. Yeah. It's good. Very good. Let's talk
We'll have
racing.
to send that to them and let them know the advertising worked.
Alex Palou has now gone first, second, first in the first 5 races. He has a 97-point lead. Isn't that insane?
Yeah. I mean,
Has there ever been a 97-point lead since you've been covering the
no,
series?
there was somebody. There was some stat about where his lead is, and yes, he's historically in front.
It's insane. But again, the beauty of Indy is that Indy is Indy. It's not just about being great. It's not even just about being the best driver with the best car. Sometimes the best driver with the best car doesn't win this race.
Well, last year. I mean, he was probably the best car and the best driver last year.
And we can point to multiple things where, like a freaking tire blew or, whatever, some debris that you sucked up from the track and it slowed you down a tenth of a second or whatever it was. You need a lot of luck to win. And Palou so far has not been able to cash in any of that luck. In fact, he's had some bad luck. Like, what was the year where I think he and Dixon had the pit penalty and they were clearly the class of the field. What was that, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
3.
Maybe it was before New Garden won, I think. So, so that would have had to have been 3 years ago. I just don't know how you don't take him with what he's doing right now, though.
I think going into the month.
I don't know how you do it.
I know I say the month. I mean, the week of practice and then qualifying and everything else. In layman terms, this is the reality. And you're going to hear me say this a lot over the next couple of weeks. The cars that IndyCar currently is running, I mean, let's be honest, they are the DW12. I mean, they've been essentially the same chassis now for a dozen years. Nothing wrong with that, but that means that the teams and the drivers have kind of figured out what works and what doesn't. You add into the equation now the hybrid system, which is exactly that, a battery and fuel injection hybrid. That changes the weight of the car. And so with the weight of the car, there is a bigger challenge now in terms of maneuverability, passing, etc. There's a lot of discussion amongst drivers. This could be a year in the 500 where there's passing up front if you're running first or second, but then after that, it's going to be basic. It's going to be hard to pass in the middle of the pack. Palou is the one guy that, whether it's his team, whether it's his driving style, whatever it may be, the new weight impact on this car seems to either best benefit Palou or least impact Palou versus everybody else. And as a result, he is on a different planet. Now, big ovals like this, a little bit different, and some of those teams may be able to come up with good speed. But I think right now you've got to say, for the 500, your front runners, Palou, I think McLaughlin is still there with Penske and Newgarden, but Honda looks like it's the faster car. So I think you'd have
Chevy's
to say,
been better lately at
correct
the oval.
So I think you'd have to say Palou, probably Dixon, and then McLaughlin, Pata O'Ward, clearly, who has knocked on the door.
Yeah.
And, I would throw one of the Meyer-Shank racing cars in there as well because they have a partnership alliance with Ganassi, which means they're going to be able to find some speed. So I would actually put Elio in the mix as well.
That'd be pretty great.
It'd be great, yeah.
Somebody was asking you, I think it was yesterday, when's the last time we had a 50-plus-year-old 500 winner, right?
So, yes, the last one was Lynn St. James. I can give you the list right here.
Or starter. That's what it was, not winner. Yeah, somebody 50-plus that started the race.
In 1957, Cliff Brazier started the Indy 500. He actually was a pole sitter at the age of 49 the year before. Made to start in 57. Dwayne Carter, Jim McElreath, Dick Simon, A.J. Foyt, Danny Ungaius, Johnny Parsons Jr. Those two both did it in 96. And then Lynn St. James. That's every 50-year-old starter.
Lynn St. James' last start must have been like 07 or something?
97.
Oh, God, that
I'm
long.
sorry. 97. She did it as a 50-year-old in a 97, and then came back and started. I think in 02 or 03.
Okay, yeah. I remember one of the races. She and Sarah Fisher actually had an accident. I think.
Correct.
One of the early 2000s races.
Larry, Elio Castroneves will do it this year at the age of 50, presuming he starts. And Al Unser did it as well, by the way, made a start at the age of 50. Al Unser, when he won the race in 87, he is the oldest winner.
Yeah.
He was 47 at the time.
Yeah.
He was literally like 3 days from his 48th birthday.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah.
There you go.
That was a fun one when we had him on the show to talk about that.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great.
That was 87's right in my wheelhouse, man.
Yeah,
right
that would have been your pinnacle of it as well. What's weird for me is to see the 20th anniversary of Dan Weld in 05 because that was my senior year at IU.
Time flies.
When we went, we went to the 05 race, and that was
you went to the race?
Oh yeah, Danica.
Who'd you go with?
My buddies from Lebanon. So my dad still
Did you camp out?
Yeah, we did all that. So my first camp out race was 03. So we did 03, 04, 05, 06 together, and then we had a larger group 07, 08, and then we moved into the gated community of the Coke Lot early 10s. So like when I had the Snuggie on and was crushing a Limerita, that was when we were on the opposite side of the Coke Lot. So we were out of the bowels of the Coke Lot.
And you stayed there till 10, then you went home, went to bed.
I did. It was very chilly that night, hence the Snuggie, and which I still have. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
So your days, do your buddies still do it?
Oh yeah, but they have like RVs and with showers in them, and you know what I mean. Like they're not intense eating hot dogs. They make scallops and steaks, and they have a big grill set up. A lot of them were guys that I met when we worked in restaurants together, and all of them can cook.
Tim Job
Tim Job is holding it down on the grill. Yeah, Tim Job. Should I tell the story for Tim Job real quick? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a friend, Tim, from New Prairie, so up north. He was a guy that we met at IU, and he worked at the Outback Steakhouse with us, and he was in one of our other buddies' phones as Tim Job. So do you have, like, identifiers in your phone?
Oh, yeah.
I do that for me, like, put it in parentheses, like, how do I know this person?
Of course.
And it's different for you and me because we know the hard thing about our lives is that everybody remembers when they met you, and you don't always remember when you met them because it's a big deal for them to meet you. But anyway, with Tim, he's in the phone as Tim Job, and that's just for 20 years. That's his name, Tim Job. And he's single, and there's just something perfect about it. Like he's not married, you know what I mean? And he just kind of he lives in Minneapolis now, and he just kind of flies in for the race and flies out. And yeah, I love Tim Job. Great dude.
And he went to IU?
Yep.
Okay.
He was with us at IU. He lived with my buddy Smock, who's the godfather of, and
Right.
Crystal, the godmother of my parents. They weren't they were hooking up at that point, but they weren't like a thing. And then Ashley lived in that house with them too. That was when I moved to Indy.
I don't know that they want you telling the whole world that they were hooking up and not a thing.
I think it was just like a having fun thing, and then it became like, hey, this is pretty fun. Let's keep this going for the rest of our lives type thing.
Yeah, I mean, just like, they were in courtship.
Yes. My friend Jeffrey and my friend Crystal, they were courting.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what are we doing here? No, they were, yeah. Bang, bang.
Okay. I mean, we got Nook.
Let's get that in post. All right. Yeah, that's a little too software. I might hear from Mr. Query because I know he doesn't like when I kind of get.
My dad hasn't watched this show in 2 years.
Ever
since Derek went into the potty talk, my dad was done.
Yeah, exactly. That would qualify as potty talk. Wouldn't you say? Let's get to our Hoagie and Hero of the Week. Brought to you by our friends at Hoagies and Hops. Very important show announcement. I think this is the first year that they've officially done this. I think they've unofficially done this for years because I remember taking Hoagies to the track. They have a track cooler deal at Hoagies and Hops. So listen to this. $34, right? Feeds up to 4 people. Or if you're very adventurous, this would feed 1 Darren King. So it feeds up to 4 people or 1 Darren King. 18-inch Hoag. Anything that you want. They're going to put the veggies and sauce on the side so it stays, right? Everything stays dry and you put it together at the track. 4 bags of Hers chips from PA and sliced pickles. $34 for your own individual track pack. Or if you're doing a porch party, you're hanging at home, you're listening to Jake and the IMS radio network. A lot of people do that. You get a 500 party pack, a tray of Hoagies, 12 Philly pretzels that you can dip into the cheese and all that stuff. $114 because it's been 114 years of the Indianapolis 500. Isn't that cool?
Very cool.
Yeah. So hoagiesandhops.com or call ahead to order. You can't do a day of. You can't show up and be like, hey, I want a track pack.
Don't wait till next year because then it's $115.
That's right.
So
317-426-5731. 426-5731 for your track packs at Hoagies and Hops.
Watch it.
And when you're going to the track, you got to get the OG, baby. Hog me. Oh, there's my wrapper.
Look, right there. Can you see the phone number on there?
Hog it.
We can't zoom in. I can write it big at the top. You ready?
The best. Hog Island. So, all the Italian meats. So you have the prosciutto.
Look.
You have the gabagool on here as well.
426-5731. 426-5731.
Jay Flores. The oil.
Derek, shut up.
Lil Prove.
Wait till
Lil
you're done.
Salam. So good.
I'll mention this while you're over there choking on it. The Dr. Feelgood, baby. Nothing says May. Nothing says track. Like some good classic 80s hairband stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Guns N' Roses, baby.
No, Motley
Let's do
Crue. The hazy IPA from Chili Water. Chili Water is fantastic right there attached to Hoagies and Hops. They have a location down near Fountain Square as well. But oh so smooth and oh so good. That hazy IPA, I love it because you taste the hops in it, but smooth hops. Not like that biting, needly hops. Very, very good.
Sorry,
You go up there I'm telling you, you want to talk about a weekend, Hoagies and Hops, whether you're bringing in the food, chili water beer, now you're talking weekend. The weather's getting ready to, it's broken. The weather's perfect now for 4 months.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on going in there on a Saturday, a crisp Saturday in the fall, and everybody's watching football. It's great.
Like, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, cold fried chicken. You're thinking some, tradition when it comes to that. Nothing better than a Sando out of the track. Cold Sando, hot day. Perfect. Hot day, cold Sando, cold beer.
Yeah.
Bang. They got you covered over there at Hoagies and
See
Hops.
how easy that is to say.
We had the number up on the screen, so just rewind it.
See how easy that is to say
after the
once
live
you don't have
stream
your mouthful.
Post, and we'll get that for you. Hero of the week. It's Palou. Incredible pace to start the IndyCar season. Historic, all of it. How about this, Jake? In his last 36 races, you want to guess how many times he's won in his last 36 races?
15.
Close. He's won a third of them. 12. He has won or finished runner-up nearly half the time, 17 times in the last 36 races. But, for these guys, it's not about the championship. Palou could win. Palou would trade 8 points championships for Indy 500.
That's
win.
right.
And that's what it's all about. And he knows that. And I think, clearly there have been several guys that have fallen into this category who were actually lesser drivers than Palou. And that's no offense to them. They were great drivers. But Palou is good enough where it's hard to imagine him not winning this race at some point.
I would agree with that. Now, Derek, I'm at the Pacer game last night.
Mm-hmm.
They introduced on the video board, Dario Franchitti was there and Scott Dixon was there. And for Dario, it's like, please welcome 3-time winner Dario Franchitti. For Dixon, it's like he's the second winningest driver all time with, I think it's 6 points championships and da-da-da. And the 2008 Indy 500 winner, and they introduced Dixon. I guarantee you Dixon's sitting there thinking to himself, I have like twice the level of career accomplishments as this guy, but he's won 3 of them.
Yeah, but Dario won 3, and he's got the hair. He's got the hair, the flow. Dario, if we are ranking the handsomest Indy 5 driver, maybe we should do that sometime. 2 handsome guys ranking handsome things. The handsomest Indy 500 drivers of all time. Dario's way up there.
Okay, I will make
way
this.
up there.
I will make this confession. I don't have a problem with it. Don't have a problem with it.
You don't think he's handsome?
No, not what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with this. I do, actually. But I am fairly certain that Shannon would leave me for Dario Franchitti.
Yeah.
Like, she must have last night, like 3 different times, been like, is that Dario's over there, right?
Yeah.
What's Dario doing? Look at his hair. Like, he's so handsome. Look at his hair.
He's a handsome guy. And the accent.
The accents.
Remember when he told us the story where he hung out with Bono in a castle in Ireland? You're just like, dude, like, this is insane. You want to guess my person or Ashley's person for that with me? Where every time he's on the TV, she's like, oh, my God, he's on the TV. They're showing him. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
God,
I mean, it's it's the little fella from the Lord of the Rings.
Elijah Wood, a very good-looking guy. That's a great guess. No, Marcus Freeman.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Marcus Freeman is
he's
a good-looking guy, yeah, and he just looks like he's, like, confident and he gets it. You can see the resemblance, not necessarily, like, physically as much, even though we both have an impressive build, but, like, some of the characters,
okay.
He's confident, he wins.
Who are your second and third?
He's successful.
Second and third most handsome Indy 500 winners?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question because I just thought about Dario.
I mean, Newgarden.
Yeah, Newgarden's kind of got that guy next door type look, but he doesn't have like. I'm talking about you put him on the red carpet in like a tailored Italian suit, and they just got the flow, and they've got like the 3-day-old stubble. Like Newgarden doesn't have that vibe, whereas Dario has that vibe.
Kanan?
No, we're talking handsomest.
Okay.
I love TK, but. TK would laugh you out of the room if you said, "Hey, you're one of the handsomest
Dixon?
drivers in the series." Dixon, same thing as Newgarden. It's just it's a little too clean cut. I need like almost like a little bit of danger.
So not Pagano.
You know? Is that not who?
Pagano?
Pagano with the accent and everything. Yeah, Pagano is a handsome guy. I mean, a lot of them are handsome guys. They all have like beautiful spouses too.
Correct.
Yeah. We don't have to do this right now, Jake. You can simmer on it.
Exercise.
Yeah. You could simmer
Elio?
on it for a little bit. No, I mean Elio wouldn't say that. Elio's kind of goofy. You know, like you don't think like, and he's an unbelievable driver, right? But he's kind of a goofball.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But like short, funny guy, like women find that attractive too. You don't have to look like Dario Franchitti for women to find you to be attractive.
You better be glad they do.
Yeah. Because I'm funny, or because
no.
Okay.
You're not funny.
I'm funny.
Not intentionally.
Thank you for saying that. We come back on the show. Congratulations to the Indy Ignite. We've got some bullet points to touch on, and we will get to Bite or Bull Bleep as well before we wrap up. It's Corey Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey and Wood.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do. From Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
So I went and searched handsomest Indy 500 drivers, and
Danny Sullivan.
People also ask, in the people also ask category, it was, what was the hottest Indy 500? What do Indy 500s do if they have to use the bathroom? And what was the worst Indy 500 ever? And I don't want the answers to any of those.
Do you know the question that I think is the better question about the Indy 500?
What's that?
People ask a lot, what if the driver has to use the restroom while he's driving? Well, they go in the suit. But they usually are so dehydrated, it's not an issue. Dude, what happens if you're going 240 miles an hour into the turn and you have to sneeze?
Oh, geez. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And you've got a visor on.
Yeah.
No bueno there. Right?
No, that'd be bad. Colton Herta. He's a handsome guy, right? He's in a band. Like, that's what I'm talking about here.
He's kind of goofy. Jack Harvey.
Jack Harvey is a very good-looking guy. Yeah, Jack Harvey be way up there. Yeah.
Got the accent, right?
The eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy on, like this show. Easy on the eyes.
Yeah, okay.
Jack Harvey, for sure. Yeah, that's a great one. Thank you for bringing up Jack Harvey. Congratulations, Indy Ignite. They fell short of the championship, but in their inaugural volleyball season, they upset top seed Omaha in the semifinals and went all the way to the championship. Lost to Orlando yesterday. We're taping this right now on Monday, 3-1. But finishing second in an
Huge
18 league in
success.
your first league, I mean,
Listen.
you drew 7,000 fans for your opener.
It was a
Pretty
big
good.
success. That Fishers Event Center is wonderful.
Yeah.
I went to, I went to the All-Star match. I went to probably 3 other matches. I had a great time. Lot of, volleyball playing girls and boys, but in the crowd, a lot of family atmosphere to it. A lot of fun.
Volleyball's a really fun sport to watch live, too. That helps. Charles Barkley, did you see this? Joked about the St. Elmo stakes. So Pacers are up 41 at halftime, and he's already calling it because TNT has the Eastern Conference Finals. And he joked about getting some well-done fillets at St. Elmo, and then the St. Elmo social account replied and said they'd be ready. So I thought that was kind of funny.
He must have said filet mignon.
Yeah, he said minions. He doesn't know how to say. That's like a running joke, though, I think, on their show. But he likes it butterflied and well done, which I'm not trying to be like eat your steak, I guess, however you want. But if you're going to get don't get a filet if you're going to get something well done. Get like a sirloin or something like that.
Right.
That's what I would do. Have you seen how bad the Colorado Rockies are? I know we don't give you a lot of Colorado Rockies content on this show.
They're like 6 and whatever, right? Are they rivaling last year's White Sox?
They're ahead of them because the Sox at this point of the year had 11 wins. They didn't really hit the skids until the middle portion of the year. They have matched the 1988 Cute Fellas for the worst 40-game start in baseball history at 6-34. They just fired their manager. I follow a guy in Denver. You remember Nate Lundy? He used to be the fantasy guy for us that would come on. He's in Denver, and he said firing Bud Black is like amputating your leg when you just had your head cut off or something, because that's what it feels like. But he spent 9 seasons there, and he actually made the playoffs. But a question that I had, and I can't include hockey because I'm not a hockey guy, so I can't speak with authority on hockey. If you were to say who is the least relevant major pro sports franchise, would it be the Rockies?
Are we taking out hockey?
Yeah, like I said.
Okay, yeah.
3 major pro sports.
Wait, the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, but the Diamondbacks won a World
No,
Series
you're right.
that people remember.
You're right. The Rockies went to one.
They did, but does anybody remember that they went to one?
I mean, it's the one that I keep going to is the Washington Wizards. But yes, to your point, yes.
But again, you can't say the NFL just because we're so obsessed with the NFL. And I feel like you almost can't say the NBA just because it's a stars league. So people, name a Washington Wizard. I think people would be able to name, I don't know, John Wall.
Right. Bradley Beal.
Yeah, whereas it's name a Colorado Rocky. And I'm like, Dante
Larry Walker.
Bichette. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a little bit harder to do.
And this is so in the mind, this is going to sound weird. I think the brain disassociates the combination of purple and black. It doesn't stick out in your mind.
Yeah.
Whereas a team that's red and white or blue and silver, whatever, it jumps. It's sunnier. It's more vivid in your mind. The Rockies, it's easier for them to just fade into nothing because they're black.
But
and
as a
purple.
10-year-old in 1993, it was so cool to have new teams.
You probably had a Rockies hat because you're like, dude, I'm a Crip.
It was very cool. At 10?
Yeah.
No, I was a Blood at 10.
Okay.
No, yeah, I wasn't a Crip. Yeah, I used to be able to do the hold on.
No, we're not doing that. Nope.
I'm losing it here. I used to be able to do that. The Bloods with your hands. Yeah, you could actually spell it out. It's really cool. That's my past life. I don't want to. Not here to talk about the past. Here to talk about the future. Here to talk about Chateau Kitchens. We're going to come back with Bite or Bold Bleep when we return and tie a bow on episode 236 of Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do. From Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgages and snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back for a final time here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jay Query. I'm Derek Schultz, presented by Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Thanks to B&W once again, as always. Thanks to Chateau Kitchens. They are the proud sponsors of Buy It or Bowl Bleep. Stephen Moore and his team, they are in the business of in-home transformations. So whether it be your kitchen, maybe you got a bathroom that you're like, this is dated, there's pink tile on the wall, I need to do something about this. Maybe even your basement like I did. Anything on the interior of your home, Chateau Kitchens can take care of it for you. Their before and after pictures can be seen on their Instagram and their Facebook accounts, on socials at Chateau Kitchens, or head to chateaukitchens.com and have somebody come out to assess your project and give you a price and give you some 5-star customer service if you end up going down that road with Chateau Kitchens.
Chateau Kitchens, your basement, I will admit, spectacular.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a little hard for tall guys down there because
They got rid of the toilet, though.
Well, they got rid of the toilet, but I had asbestos up top, and so they just kind of framed that in. So for me, I cleared the ceiling pretty well, but Jake has been down there in the basement before, and he kind of has to go like this.
But it looks good.
Yeah.
Gives me a better perspective of all the work they did.
Yeah, that's a nice way to say it. And I got my award plaque up there now, so it's good. I got my whole nook. So
Well, you
it's
did
nice.
get an award, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
The hero of the week is Derek Schultz, actually, for winning. It was for sports writing?
Yeah, for IBJ columnist. Yeah.
So did you beat, like, the big,
Well, yeah. I mean, depending on what they submitted, but I'm assuming like the Star and everybody else submitted. It's all the circulations 10,000 plus. So like South Bend Tribune.
Did you get a bonus for it?
I got the plaque.
Okay.
And a job well done.
Were you there? For the
No,
award?
I was at a Little League game. I'm the head coach of the Little League team, so I was like, I got a game. And, they told me I was nominated. They didn't know that I had won, so I'm like, just mail me my third place certificate. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't thinking that I was actually going to win. So we went out for ice cream afterwards, and they texted me with a picture of the plaque, and I was like, oh, my God.
Did your kid got a foul ball?
No, he actually gets hits sometimes in the games. Yeah, he's a much better Little League player than I had. Bite or Bowl Bleep. Ready for statement one?
Yep.
Chevy will have an edge over Honda this month. I don't know if you'd say that, Bite or Bowl Bleep. But it's surprised us before.
That's a good question. As of right now, I'm going to say buy it.
Okay.
I'm going to say buy it. The Chevys. You said Chevy over Honda?
Yeah.
No. I think Honda will be.
Okay.
I think Honda will be. Here's the thing. Honda's been like faster. Chevy's been more fuel efficient, I think, or one or the other. But I think the hybrid thing changes a little bit. I think Honda has the advantage. I may be wrong.
But it's hard to know, right?
It is hard to know.
Because Indy is kind of its own entity. I don't know. I'll buy it just because it's trended to go that way, but
Chevy's had an awful big
really
advantage
know.
of late. You're right. I mean,
never
Pato
really know.
and Newgarden and, yeah.
It's tough. It's tough to know. Statement number 2, Miles Turner will play his entire career as an Indiana Pacer. Bite or Bowl Bleep?
I'm going to say Bull Schultz only because you can never rule out the possibility of, the last year or two he wants to play and, they're at the end of the road, and so he goes and plays, in Dallas for a year or something like that. But the meat of his significant contributing playing years, he will be an Indiana Pacer.
It's just weird to think that he's still only 29 years old. You forget he got here, he was still a teenager.
Yeah.
He's 29.
He's been big for them.
I'm going to go ahead and buy it just because I think it'd be great. I think it'd be a fun story. Who's the last? Is Jeff Foster the last Pacer to do that?
Jeff Foster, I just saw this stat the other day. That Jeff Foster has like more playoff starts than anybody for the Pacers or whatever.
But is he the last Pacer to complete his career, and the only team he played for was the Pacers?
Well, I mean, it depends.
You have to meet a minimum threshold.
Jamison Brewer.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to meet a minimum threshold here.
That would have to be right.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. We're not going to include Scott Haskett.
A multiple contract career. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I can't think of anybody else, so that would have to be that'd have to be right. Should have been Danny Granger, but not going to make a comment there.
I did not have Danny Granger on my bingo card today.
Well, I mean, he should have been a Pacer his whole career.
Understood.
I understood why Larry Bird did what he did, but it was ended up not being the right decision. It'll take the Indiana Fever a minute to kick things into gear, Bite or Bowl Bleep, because people are depending on it to be a championship team right away.
They're going to be good.
No, I think it's going to take a second. I think you got to feel their way around. There are a lot of new pieces.
Bite or Bull Schultz, we see the return of the Derek mustache.
Bull Schultz. I'm already past the window.
No, you're not.
Yeah, no, I trimmed this a couple of days ago. Generally speaking, when I've grown the mustache, I've stopped shaving on April 1st. I've stopped trimming on April 1st.
Yeah, but you could still do a mustache and just shave.
No, it's not the same. What? You think I can half-ass this? This is like a commitment to do the mustache. So no, I can't just wake up on race day and be like, I'm gonna have a mustache.
Already looks absurd enough if you just.
No, it's not even close to full bloom. Not even close. I mean, it still looks great, but it's not even close to full bloom. Yeah. Unlike you, I do everything to the best of my ability. So something like the mustache requires my best. And I can't give it my best because
like
it's
the fact that
May 10th or 12th or whatever.
Just enough pepper in there now that it looks like you've got frozen snot in your beard.
Looks like I got stuff in there. And my sideburns are all peppery too. It's too bad. I need him to get a little bit more that way, salt and peppery, so I can be like Dario Franchitti and be a little more sexy. Thank you to our great sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, Bailey and Wood Financial Group, Hoagies and Hops,
American Dairy Association, commemorative
Chili Water
milk bottles, Will Power, Joseph Newgarden.
Sorry, Vince. Jake had to come in here and give a sponsor mention on top of one of my They cycle through the billboards, Jake, so you have to let it breathe for a second. So you have to be like,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, American Dairy Association of Indiana. Pause. Hoagies and Hops and Chili Water Brewing. Chateau Kitchens. And Bailey and Wood Financial Group.
Thank you. Okay.
See? I don't know. I got to teach you how to be a professional
Commemorative
broadcaster.
bottles, by the way, for the American Dairy Association.
Cool. For Vince, for Rake, for I think Charlie's back there, Jordan. He's Jake. I'm Derek. Bye. We'll see you next time. Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
At Bailey